get to.
All right, can everybody hear us? All right,
Doing
that
stuff.
wants to hear us. Thanks for coming out to the Texas BHA Pint Night. We appreciate you guys all coming out and supporting, obviously, the cause and what we're doing here on the podcast. I'm Tyler Jones from the Element Podcast. This is KC Smith. He's my co-host.
My name is Abe Bullman. I'm from Stormwater Creek, and these are the guys from Stormwater Creek. We got Jordan, Cameron, and Austin, and we're also joined by Jared Kennedy and Jeff Bonham from the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Texas chapter. So we're ready to get this thing going.
All right, let's do it. All right, my name is Jared Kennedy, and I will be the host today, I suppose.
Ringmaster.
The ringmaster of this this joint effort here. So what we have today, we're having a pint night for Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and in conjunction with these two podcasts, the Element and Stormwater Creek. Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is a nonprofit that has a couple of goals. The major goal here in the state and nationwide is public land advocacy for access for hunting and fishing nationwide. We have a 500-600 members in the state of Texas, and we're working hard to build that and grow nationwide. I think we're 15,000 members strong, probably more than that today. And so that's what we do. We were invited to this show because these two groups, the Element Podcast and Stormwater Creek, both do the majority of their hunting on public lands, maybe the entirety of their hunting.
Solid 90%, I'd say.
Solid 90% on public lands here in the state and outside the state as well. So to start it off, I'd like to have a couple of these guys kind of give a recap of their season. So why don't we start with the guys from the Element?
Sure.
Tyler Jones.
Yeah. And we had a great year. I enjoyed, it's relatively new to me to do the public land thing. KC kind of got me into it a couple years ago, and we went hard at it for whitetails in Texas, and then we were able to harvest a really nice buck in Kansas on some public lands as well. We tend to probably do more scouting than we should, so that's going to pay off eventually, I think, when you do that. But your wives don't necessarily like it when you're just out in the woods walking around, especially in Texas. Like, you're not bringing home sheds very often. You're not like, sometimes you're like, yeah, I think that's a trail. I mean, it looks like a clearing where deer would walk. But overall, like, we had a great time doing the whitetail thing this year. But we spent time this summer in Black Canyon National Park, and he and I took a bunch of camera gear down into the Black Canyon, 2,000 vertical feet from the rim down to the Gunnison River, and I guess in the next couple months we'll be doing a film release, I think, at the Fly Shop, Tailwaters Fly Shop here in Dallas. So awesome. We caught some monster rainbows and some pretty nice browns as well. So it was fun. Anything else?
I mean, we took that trip to Colorado to go elk hunting.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's nothing special. We always go OTC, which is a lot of fun, and it's just that I guess it's kind of become the public land mantra of go in far and go in hard, and you'll have some encounters. I didn't get to kill a bull. I killed a bull in 2016, but one of my best friends from here in Texas, he didn't really carry him up there. He just kind of went with us, camped with us. I kind of showed him a little bit of what I knew, and he ended up killing a bull that scored in the 280s on like one of the hardest hunted units in Colorado. So that's a pretty good experience for us. And we kind of made a little film of that, but it doesn't have a kill shot in it. So I don't know if you could really call it that, but just a great time. And then come back here and just go hard and somewhat have mixed emotions about how the Texas deer season ended. But we did have that great trip to the Midwest and did great up there, but it's kind of, our season was a true example of how hard the public land game can be here in our state of Texas. And
I'd like to make a point that he passed a really good deer on public land this year in Texas. So it was a deer I would have shot. I mean, he was holding out for a 4-year-old plus, which is pretty rare on Texas public lands. So overall,
well, that's commendable, but that's also how you go home with a tag.
That's how you shuffle. Yeah. End up shuffling around for some does right at the end of the season whenever that happens.
Yeah.
You know?
But
freezer trophies.
But really, the public land thing for you guys is more about going and doing. I mean, you probably would not hunt as hard if you hunted private. If I had to guess.
Oh no, I don't think so. I mean, there's just when you have thousands of acres of public land to roam around on, that's what I love about it. I mean, you just can't afford to lease that much acreage. You know what I'm saying? And so for $50 or whatever, you can go roam around with several thousand acre WMAs. And yeah, it's tough, but I don't know. I get a lot more out of it. I know it sounds so cliche, but I get a lot more out of it than just putting a picture on Instagram of me with a big buck.
Yeah.
You know. So
yeah, and I think that too. I don't think that hunting public land per se makes you a better hunter, but I think the access to that much acreage, no matter if it's private or public, really helps you in your game because, you know, I grew up hunting mostly public, and then we had about a 20-acre tract that we could put a feeder on. And I didn't learn anything about deer hardly on that feeder place, you know.
Right.
But I'd still shoot a deer there when I had the chance. But when you go out there and you have a couple thousand acres to roam around on and really actually see how deer move throughout properties and use terrain, like that makes a huge difference in, you know, your development as a hunter.
We'll come back to more of that, but I want to get the Stormwater Creek guys in. Abe, tell us a little bit about what you guys did this year.
Well, it's funny because a lot of ours mirrors a lot of what theirs was. A lot of walking, a lot of scouting. Our crew there's 4 of us, and so everybody does everything. But we got 2 duck hunters who go crazy during duck season. So come November, they're shotgun in hand at 4 o'clock in the morning drinking coffee, waiting for the sun to come up on the water. And then you got Cameron and I who are out there busting through Greenbrier, trying to get as deep into the public land as we can get. But I mean, for this year, for us, it was crazy. It started early. I've never scouted or put as much effort into trying to go out and find animals in the wild as I have this year. So being able to go out on a piece of public property that I would have otherwise never known existed, have fun hunting, have fun with my friends is an opportunity that, you know, you just don't get a lot unless you know it's there. And it's why we like to do what we do. I think that's why both of these podcasts do what they do, because we find so much joy in it and trying to give that to people. And because it's very hard, it's really hard. I think that's the one thing we can all agree on is super hard.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to go out on public land is not going to be something you go out and, oh, well, I hunted 2 days and I shot 2 deer. Just, you could do it, and if you do it, hats off to you, but more often than not, it's going to take a lot more time. There's one in every crowd that gets one on their trip out. They're like, oh, this is what y'all do? It's so easy.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was really fun. We did a lot of we didn't get anything on the ground this year, but we did tear apart a piece of property and find every single little nook and cranny that it had to offer and hunted it as hard as we could and tried to be able to be as adaptable as we could. What do you boys, you duck hunting boys, think about? Y'all went after it pretty hard this year.
We stuck to our older tactics this year on duck hunting, and we went out to our normal spots, and we got a few out there. We decided to change it up, and everyone told us we were in the right spot, you know, and it was one of those, y'all guys should have been here yesterday. They were flying all over the place. Yeah, and but, you know, we learned some new things. We learned some new tactics. We started using the kayaks more, getting to spots. We found a lot of places that we think are promising for next year. We just need to start them out a little earlier, you know.
Story of a public land
we
hunter.
hunted a lot of new property and new acreage this year. Definitely found some good spots. Found a ton of wood ducks, which is my favorite by far.
For sure.
I made a few sits in stands for deer, but duck hunting's way more my deal. I know me and a buddy scared Abe out of his tree stand one morning.
Oh, yeah. That was an interesting end to a hunt. I guess
we didn't even know you were going out. We were throwing boats in the water at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. A truck pulls up, and I'm ignoring it, and this guy grabs me. What the hell? It was Abe. I was like, oh, what's up, buddy? He goes, I'm going to shoot deer. I said, I'm not.
Yeah, it was funny.
You tell the rest of the story.
Well, we got checked by the game warden, by the lovely Mr. Gary Miller, and he was like, well, where's your shotgun at? And I'm like, well, I'm not hunting ducks. He was like, what? What are you doing? I was like, well, I took my kayak down and around, and he's like, you paddled that kayak all the way down to that public land spot. And I was like, yes, sir. He was like, let me see. And you don't have a shotgun for real? I'm like, no, I don't. And he was like, oh, well, more power to you, buddy.
Yeah, he thought you were crazy.
He was like, man, good for you, you know?
Well,
Most people think we're crazy.
so we had
Probably are.
Tell the rest of the story.
So we've had Colorado elk, we've had Texas whitetail, Texas waterfowl, and Kansas. You guys are in Kansas, right?
Yeah.
For the Element guys are in Kansas. And we have Jeff Bynum here, who hasn't talked yet. Jeff, I know you did a Colorado hunt. What else did you do here in the state?
Yeah, I mean, for Texas public lands, I think the funnest hunt that I did this year was I got to take a guy out that had never hunted before, never had anybody to go with, and being in Texas, he just didn't know anything about where to go or how to do it, and so went up to Caddo, and they have a 3-day doe season up there, and we were able to kind of, I mean, anytime you go out with someone that's never hunted before, they always have that lucky streak, and so we had a doe walk out and helped him harvest his first doe. Just a cool experience, and ended up getting a bobcat on that trip myself. So it's possible, but you got to work. It's a whole nother ball game than sitting in front of the feeder with a cup of coffee.
How's that bobcat taste?
Good question.
Yeah. So no, it was a good year. Colorado was good. Didn't get a bull. Had opportunities. It's funny because everybody has the paradigm when you go out to Colorado chasing elk. You got to go in deep and into the wilderness and go further than everybody. And what you find is that everybody has the same idea. And we got into elk, and we were in elk for 4 or 5 days straight. Took one cow out of a herd, but we were only 1.5 miles, 2 miles deep, and we had bulls screaming, and it was action like I've never seen in Colorado over-the-counter hunting before. It was great. Eventually, we chased them out of there. It's something where you've got to hunt it different. It's a whole nother paradigm shift. It's a whole nother level of work, and you really got to be there for the experience. And every now and then you get lucky and get a fill of freezer.
Cool. All right, so we're going to do kind of something a little bit different. Since there's so many on the panel here, we're going to go ask for some shorter questions, just kind of a short little synopsis of a few things here. So I'm going to start right here to my right, your left in the audience, with Mr. Austin, the Grinch, as they call it. How did you get that nickname?
Look at any picture he's ever taken, and that'll give you the answer.
Enough said.
So I wear glasses or contacts, and sometimes I just don't wear them, so I can't see. So I'll be standing somewhere squinting.
The Grinch.
Everybody's like, "What's wrong with you?
Gotcha.
What's going on?"
The best thing I ever
I'm
heard
just trying to
is
see. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
the best
So I
thing
guess I'm
I've,
scowling all the time.
the best thing I've ever heard is he looks like a pitching coach whose team is losing from the
No,
dugout.
perpetually watching his team lose from the dugout.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was comment was on a picture
So-
from my elk hunt.
So the Grinch here, Austin, is on my right, and I've noticed on his social media, this guy's a cook. He does am I going to say this right? Sous vide.
I do sous vide a lot of animals.
He does sous vide a lot of cuts, and so real quick, rapid fire here, almost rapid
Okay.
fire. What was the best day that you had out today? I mean, it doesn't have to be the most successful. But what was the best day, and kind of what made it the best day today?
Definitely some of the new spots we hit duck hunting. That's by far my forte and my love. I always knock down a deer every year on usually private land. I try to knock a few on public land, but duck hunting's my deal.
Okay, so you go into a brand new spot. You had heard a little bit about it. You pull in. You throw a couple dozen decoys, half dozen.
Dozen at most.
Dozen at most.
Dozen at most.
Is that a less is more on public
By the
land?
I think by the time they've gotten this far south and you're
They've
in
seen it
mid-season
all.
or later,
Yeah,
they're like, no.
Yeah.
We've seen that.
We've seen that,
Yeah,
too.
we've seen
Yeah.
that. So yeah, half dozen.
All right, so you go into a brand new spot. What made it the best day? Just beautiful, more or less.
I burned off a day of work midweek and went and paddled it and
Okay.
kind of dropped some pins on onyx. It was mid-morning. I got there like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And there was ducks everywhere flying, which
Yeah.
is by that most of my duck hunts are done by 10 or 11.
Oh, yeah.
So seeing them fly then, I was like, well, this is the spot now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just kind of paddled around, did some research, took some random shots at them at noon, which is right when it was ending. So just getting the lay of the land. I know a lot of
No
elk hunts
pressure. I mean, just kind of.
I was the
you
one
just had a
person out there.
laid back day.
Yeah, and it was gorgeous
Yeah.
mornings. I was just paddling my kayak around.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people look for, especially for like any ungulate hunting, draws and drainages and all that. For duck hunting, it's water and where it's gathering in reeds and depth, and you can't look at a map for that.
Right.
Because it's going to change weekly, so you got to get out there and look.
Right.
So just running across these new spots was the best part of the year. And you can't really scout prior. You just got to get out there and look at it. You can get an idea before the season, but once the season starts, you got to change tactics pretty much weekly.
Cam Wiseman.
Yep.
Cam here. What? So same question. What was your best day? Would you say?
I don't know. There was one morning. It was the one we got on film. Or I got it on film. Self-filmed 2 does being killed, and it was my first experience, self-filming anything.
Wow.
And it all just worked out perfect. It was a beautiful morning. Everything. It's one of the few times everything just works like it should. So
yeah. Now, what kind of tree stands? Y'all hang-ons, or you use climber stands?
So this was a ladder, and I guess I should say this was on private land.
Well, that's
talking about public land here. I'm telling you about private.
No, that's fine.
It was a ladder stand at the farm. So it was that short window we had to shoot does, so I kind of let them have it.
With your bow, right?
Love it.
Yep.
Look at you.
Jordan's kind of the head honcho of the guy that had the idea for Stormwater Creek. All these guys are sporting these lovely Stormwater Creek hats.
Well, thank you.
One could be yours for a tidy sum of $20.
$1.
$20. What was your favorite day this year?
Man, my favorite day this year, me and Grinch went out in our kayaks, and we just had a blast. It was really cold morning, crushing through some ice in the lake. Just out there. While we were sitting out there, it was freezing around us. But
are you going to tell this story?
It was just a good time. What do you mean?
Yeah. Is this where he dropped his gun?
Dropped it and then threw it once.
Yeah.
A mallard decoyed, like you see in textbooks.
Yeah,
like 20 yards out, kicking down landing gear, and I whiffed 3 shots at it.
Wow.
Threw my gun in the reeds. But that's neither here nor there.
But that's not why it was my favorite
day.
That's
an old golfer's trick, isn't it?
It was just a nice day. It was everything was pretty. We had a few come in that actually decoyed.
Right.
It was nice. We went and checked some land out. And I like to explore. I like to scout just because I like to see different things. I like to move. So it was a great day.
Awesome. Jeff?
Yeah, my best day, another BHA guy called me. I think it's part of the reason it's so cool being in this group is you just get to meet all kinds of badasses and good people that care. Called me and said he had a problem where he's got too many mature 8 points running on his property, and asked me if I could help with that. And so
definition of first world problem.
Being the helper that I am, went out and sat. Had to put in some work in the tree stand, but sat 7 days and got to harvest my biggest buck to date, and that was a pretty cool experience. Any time in a tree stand, watching deer underneath you, the way they interact, especially during the rut, it's just a cool experience. You learn so much. So, that was a fun time.
It's a good buddy.
Yeah, good old JT.
Good old JT.
Good man right there.
Yeah. So, speaking of initials, KC, tell me about your KC Smith, correct?
That's me.
KC Smith. Tell me about your favorite day this year.
Best
day you had.
Best day I had. It might be my best day close to ever. I've grown up, hunting pretty much Texas my whole life. I've ventured down some of the hill country stuff, but, this old thick stuff up here is what I'm pretty used to. And then this guy here next to me talked me into rolling up to the Midwest this year, and I didn't have a tag in hand, so I was the cameraman. That's kind of a first thing for me. I've dabbled with it just a touch, but I had somebody good to show me the ropes, and we went up there and found us a couple pieces of public, scouted it out a little bit, and did a hanging hunt, and woke up to a really kind of muggy, not so great morning that you would, not that classic Midwest 20-degree cold that you kind of expect, and then kind of get up and get our hopes are down just a touch. We're kind of, in the dumps, and go sit in the stand, and all of a sudden we spot antlers at about 500 yards, out there in that open where you can see, and And I won't go too much into detail, but I got to lay down some hardcore footage on a really giant buck that my buddy Tyler here was able to put an area in.
down.
Yeah.
Are y'all making a film for that?
We are. Yep.
So
when
will that be
it'll probably
ready,
be next fall.
Okay.
When people get hyped up about deer hunting again.
Are you going to try to get it into one of the tours, or?
Yeah, I probably won't.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have to refrain from using that on your own
Right,
channels
right.
and publicly displaying that, and we'd rather show our friends and such. So
These guys, of course, their listeners will know, but they had a film in that was part of the Full Draw Film Tour last year, so that was kind of nice. When BHA, that's one of our big deals in the state of Texas. We're going to have 4 Full Draw Film Tour events this year: Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and Austin, possibly Houston as well. We're still working on that. If anybody in Houston's listening to this, please get in contact with us because we could use some help down there. But it's a big event for us, brings in a lot of money, and it was great to have you guys part of that last year. Public land means a lot to a lot of people in a lot of different ways. I took my boy fishing this morning, and we hiked about a mile into a river place, and you could tell there's a lot of horseback riding in there. A lot of people drink Modelo, apparently.
There's always that there.
There's some folks that smoke Pall Malls, I noticed.
yeah.
So anyways, we brought home a lot of trash and not a lot of fish, but, it's just great to have that, right down the road from the house. And I think we kind of think of hunting and fishing as these grand adventures, because that's what you see on social media. I mean, if you look for fly fishing, you're going to see a lot of permit fishing and people catching peacock bass. And, the best part about this, and the reason probably everybody's sitting at this table, is your dad took you to shoot squirrels, or you went on a dove hunt, or something that's very low key, but kind of hooked you in a way that even a big trip, if a kid just thought about one big trip a year with his dad, it may not catch him the way being able to sneak out every day or every other week does. So it's good to hear these stories about going to far off places, but also knowing that you're banging it out every day or every week on these hanging hunts and that sort of thing, paddling your canoe into a little spot that anybody in the state could show up at any given time. We hope they don't, but it could happen.
Happy to share it if there's people out there.
Anyways, that's why we're doing this. That's why BHA in the state is growing, and I think that's why the message is resonating, even in Texas, where there's not just a ton of exposure to public lands. There's a lot more than you think, especially when you add the lakes in. So that was the best. We heard the best day. I'm going to ask, kind of, not necessarily for your worst day, but I'd like to know maybe something that you did this year, that either a piece of equipment that just let you down, or a tactic that you thought was pretty clever that turned out to be kind of like my hunting experience is not that successful. What's something that you did this year that you're just it's off, you're not going to do it next year, so help somebody learn from your mistake? Abe, you want to start with that?
Yeah, for me, it was just the fact that we got tied into one spot. I think, to make it 2 quick ones, it was that we tied ourselves into one spot, and then I spent too much time scouting too many different places as far as different tracts of public land. So I think moving forward, I won't do that anymore. It's going to be I'm going to bury my nose into one place, and I'm going to be very adaptable on what I do and what I don't do. Just very adaptable where I sit. Let the land and let the time of the year and what's going on dictate what I'm doing, and kind of move that way. So, Tyler, what was yours?
Man, mine is similar. I have a buck that I named, because you can't just call them all the big 8, but he's a public land deer, and we got locked in on him quite a bit. And see, we've got several spots with like shooter bucks, at least for me. It's funny, like, I've shot some pretty big deer, but KC can attest to the fact that, like, if a illegal forker comes out, I get hyped, man. Like, I will, if he doesn't stop me, I will shoot that deer, So, but we got locked into this big 8-point that I found last year in the postseason and tracked him back towards his bedding, and thought we were going to have a better chance at him this year. And with the drought, we had issues patterning him, and so I should have been spending more time hunting just good deer country, instead of hunting a spot.
Yeah. Got locked in.
Yep.
Same thing for you, KC? Or?
Well, I'm going to throw a little different on that. It's, for me, I'm going to throw it to some fishing.
All right.
This summer, Tyler alluded that we went to the Black Canyon this year.
Uh-huh.
It's a pretty tough trip. I was in great shape. I worked hard. I ran every day before we went, lifted, did my thing. And then, for some reason, I got so hyped, I didn't eat before we started our descent.
Or drink anything,
Or
really.
drink anything. Stupid, bad backcountry mistake.
It was in the afternoon, too,
Yeah.
so it was hot, man.
About 7/8 of the way down, my legs lock up, and I can't move them. And Tyler, I think, had to go down and get the little, what is it called, steri pin?
Yeah.
And, mix me up some water out of the river just so I can keep rolling. Bad mistake.
Rookie mistake.
I know it, man. I know it.
It's happened,
Flatlanders, we don't know what we're doing sometimes.
You'll never make that mistake again.
No,
though.
never,
No.
never. No, I'm eating a steak before we go down next time.
Those mountains are rough on you.
Yeah.
It's a whole new ball game.
Yep.
Jeffro?
So mine's a little different. On that elk hunt, we went out in Colorado. I went with a bunch of guys, kind of put this trip together. They're all BHA guys, all really good dudes. But on the last day of our hunt, me and another guy went out that morning, and I miscommunicated to him what I was thinking. I said, hey, let's meet up at 10:30 and we'll walk back to camp. And he thought I was going to come back to where he was at, and we were on this really steep bank, and there was beetle kill deadfalls all around. Wind was ripping, and so there were trees falling all over the place. Well, at 10:30, I hiked up to the road and walked back to camp, and he was waiting for me, and then he started looking around, and he thought a tree fell and squished me.
Oh.
And so he spent an hour down there searching for me, and I mean the emotional cost, the emotional toll that guy went through. When I just thought maybe he killed something. So after an hour, I went back down there to try to find him, found him, and he was a wreck. He thought he was gonna have to explain to my wife how I died.
Golly.
And it's just a reminder for me. I mean, as we go out and we try to take people with us and do this, we all come from different backgrounds of hunting, different experiences, and so what makes sense to me may mean something completely different to somebody else. So learned an important lesson there.
Yeah, that's you don't know what you don't know. It's better to be explicit, isn't it? But
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yep.
everybody's okay now. Jordan, I noticed you trimmed your beard up a little bit.
Yeah. Every now and then I give it a trim because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I have a beard.
Having a beard is more work than shaving. I don't care what people say. There's nothing
No.
lazy about having a big, beautiful beard like that.
I wouldn't
No,
know.
Big, beautiful
Yeah, I wouldn't
beard
either.
like that.
It just grows in all badass like this when you're like me.
When you've got that extra genetic boost, yeah. Superman. All right, so what was either a piece of gear that you wish you'd have never heard of, or a move that you made that turned out to be a bum deal? The Bum Steer Award, if you will.
We had a rough time with our whitetail hunting on our public lands, and I missed out going to my actual deer lease that my father owns, and so I was trying to get a deer real fast. So during Christmas, I knew of a spot I could go to, and I decided I haven't really killed a deer with my bow yet, so I really wanted to do a bow hunt. And I psyched myself up before I left the house. I was like, I'm not even taking my gun. I'm just going to take my bow. I'm going to do this. It's going to happen. I got out there, and I just couldn't get anything close to me. And I should have had my rifle with me.
Right.
It was a dumb move because my freezer's getting close to being empty.
Right.
And my wife was really mad at me, actually. She told me, we got there, and she was like, I can't believe you didn't bring your rifle. You idiot. We need meat for the freezer. So, just not planning out that really good. As much as I love to bow hunt, and as much as I want to get a bow kill, I still need meat in my freezer.
Get one down first.
Yeah,
and then
for
be
sure.
all proud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let my pride get in the way. I guess that's the best way.
I'm a terrible bow hunter. I will admit that. I just don't have it.
Well, I'm starting to find out I'm not a very good bow hunter so far.
Elk hunting to elk hunt in the best time of the year to elk hunt, you have to be a bow hunter pretty much. And so I I kind of view bow hunting as you go when they're not going to let you take a rifle, you take a bow. But I just have not. I mean, it gets in some people's blood, and they just can get it done. My little brother, he could jump in a bar ditch and come out with a deer. You know.
I know people like that.
Nothing wrong with being a bow hiker, though.
Yeah, well, I've done a lot of
hike
that.
your ass off.
I did that a lot.
Cam, what's the worst thing you did this year?
So this kind of goes to something Jeff kind of mentioned earlier. Me and Abe, if there's the furthest spot in the property, I've got this thing about getting there. And it's like, if it's pressured property, they're going to be there. Well, that's not necessarily the case. I think we need to focus on not so much getting away from people as focusing on whitetail habitat.
Right.
Because you hear these stories about guys, well, you know, this guy's been hunting this property for 15 years and he never goes more than 100 yards from the truck. Well, he's on to something, right?
He's working smarter, not harder.
Smarter, not harder. So I think that maybe getting a little wiser on habitat and kind of where the deer want to be, not necessarily just getting away from people.
Now, are you going to do that with kind of boots on the ground, or is that going to be a Google Earth? I mean, where y'all are hunting is pretty big woods, isn't it? I mean, there's not a whole lot you can tell.
Well, you can tell a bit. I mean, like when you look at a map of this place, you can see just about every drainage in there.
Yeah.
You know, thick cover is going to be around drainages, right? It's going to be around creeks, whatnot.
Right.
So you can tell some things from looking on a map, but not everything. You've got to get down there and walk.
Right. This is the best time of year for that, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess I really didn't realize that. We went fishing this morning in a place that it's a public land draw hunt that you can put in for, and you can just tell so much more about what's going on. You know, with all those leaves off, and you go in September, and it's not the same deal.
Yeah, no way.
You boys just had somebody on the podcast that he determines his hunting spots
Right now.
before it greens up, right?
Yep. Yeah. Steven Spurlock, we just interviewed him the other day, and he says he finds like 90% of the places he goes this time of year. He also says, this is a neat tidbit, he says that when he finds a set of sheds, so both of them, that buck he will kill within 400 yards of that spot.
Really?
I was like, I haven't proven it. I haven't tested it myself, but it's like, man, that's a pretty cool bit of information. You know, it's something neat to test and neat to see.
Tough to prove bit of information.
Yeah. It would be real tough to prove that in our area of Texas where you don't find sheds out
Yeah,
there.
how does he find sheds?
Why do you think you don't find them as much? Just thicker?
I think it's the thickness, and you add just everything that chews on them so much. You know, you go to some parts of the country, you have a whole lot less squirrels and stuff that's chewing on them. I found one, I guess last Saturday, we did a little, small game Saturday thing, and went and shot some rabbits and squirrels, and I found a shed out there then. And it's funny how when I see the littlest bit of deer sign, I go from being a small game hunter to a deer hunter real quick, and just get locked in on that stuff.
Now, you never really go in the woods. Was this a fresh shed from this year?
No, it's actually 2 years old, and it's chewed up pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how old, but I assume,
it's kind of like finding an arrowhead. If you ever find an arrowhead in a river bottom, you really never step in a river bottom without looking again.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of changes you a little bit.
I do the same thing when I drive by a pasture and see a buck. From then on, I look in that same spot, and he's not going to be in that same spot ever again, but for something.
Confirmation bias, that's what they call that. Exactly. You just want to believe one thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Austin, anything...
I'm glad I got to go
What about
last.
cooking-wise? What did you screw up this year that you wouldn't do again? Let's hear a cooking tip. Cooking with the Grinch.
He took a smiling picture. That's what he messed up.
I did a Neil Guy tongue last weekend.
Oh, that's cool.
Is it good?
It was good.
So
I
that
like
wasn't-
lingua, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of anything that was just awful. And that Neil Guy backstrap was the best thing I've ever eaten.
Right.
But as far as actual hunting mistakes, opening day of duck season. Do you remember that, Jordan?
Oh my God!
You were there too.
I was there.
Right?
More
So this is
walking
my
that should have been done.
It's a tried and true spot. We've gone there for multiple years. We start out for it's 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever. And there's a tank and there's main water lake, and we're going 2 points out. It's a couple miles.
Okay.
And I get decoys, we got our debris loaded up, and
Right.
hiking.
Hiking.
Oh, let's take this. Yeah. Let's take this road over, and then up, kind of following main water. We walk for a while, and Jordan, I didn't have Onyx on that phone. George says, we should turn here. No, that's not right. And he says, you know what? Let's just follow main water. We know we'll get where we're going. I said, no, it's going to take forever.
Shortcut.
Let's cut this.
Shortcut.
I know.
Y'all just follow me.
I've hunted here for years. Just follow me.
Right.
45 minutes later,
Nothing.
we'd walked a circle around that tank, and I said, them two and another guy, and me. I said, they're pulling up their
Sun coming up
GPSs.
yet?
No, it was
No,
4
not
o'clock. We had
yet.
plenty of time. He said, we're on the same place we started. I said, all your phones are wrong. And I was adamant. And I always have an old school compass, and I get it out. I said, this direction's not that direction.
Yeah.
I was so turned around.
3 iPhones broken.
I was like, every one of your phones are wrong. There's
Yeah.
something wrong with
Every
cell
one of
signal
you
right
was
here.
wrong.
I was adamant about it.
We were
like
40 yards from the trucks.
We were 40 yards from the trucks. I was like, this is not where we're at. That is not happening. And it was absolutely where we were at.
That's how I almost killed Abe.
Is it?
That's exactly how you almost killed
I
me.
remember that
We had a
story.
KC lockup moment from early season with me.
It's like a whiteout.
Oh my God, Cameron almost had to carry me out. Trying to keep up with somebody who's like 6'8" and I'm 5'2" is difficult because he just walks and I just have to try to trail behind.
Yeah, but then I got
Using a little bit of
lost.
hyperbole there, but all right. So we're going to keep going here. Keep the train rolling. We're doing good. Covering a lot of ground. I think we're making a good. This
Stormwater
may
Creek
actually
staying on
be
point.
usable podcast for both
We
groups.
won't have to scrap one. It's
So
amazing.
I'm gonna go back to the Element guys. Best piece of gear that you found this year that you didn't know about when the year started.
You can go first.
Best piece that I didn't know about. All right.
Well, or best piece that you knew about, but you just finally added it to your kit this year.
Okay, well, I'll give you a little something. I've always had a hate-hate relationship with binoculars, had no
Okay.
love at all for them, and it's because I've always been using cheap binoculars.
Right.
And I got married about a year and a half ago, and my wedding party got me a set of binoculars, a nice pair of Vortexes with a rangefinder for my present. I was like, heck yeah. It's changed my world completely, man. I mean, having a good pair of binoculars that I can focus and, like, I never was able to keep my eyes straight. I don't know. I'm just kind of got a weird shape in my head or something.
The eyes.
Yeah.
Cameron told me my head shaped like a football earlier.
Yeah, that's
I'm
it.
sorry,
No,
continue.
it's all right. And adding that good pair, like quality, not super expensive, not high-end retail, but just a good quality pair of binoculars has changed the way I hunt because now it's second nature. Like as soon as I see something I want to check out, it's boop, right there. I got the harness on them and everything. Right. So like they're always right here on my chest. It doesn't matter if I'm shed hunting, scouting, or in the stand looking for whitetail. That pair of binoculars is with me all the time. And
What harness are you using?
It's that Vortex harness, the one that comes with, but it's a lot like that. What's it, Crooked Creek or something? I don't remember. It's got that little leather pouch in the back or leather thing in the back.
Yeah, first like fish hunt fight FHF gear. Or
I like those. I want a pair of
the
those.
old Vortex ones were made by those guys. I don't know if the new
really?
ones are or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they are anymore.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
I think so. For me, one thing that we utilized, I got a Muddy ProCam 12 trail camera, and we utilized the video mode on that pretty extensively this year. And I think it kind of changed our world because, even if you're doing a burst mode, sometimes it's hard to tell where that deer's coming from or which way he's going. And, man, we were watching deer eating goldenrod on the video, like it's a great camera. And so, just using that this year, the video mode, we were able to see where the deer were coming from, what trail they actually came down, and where they were leaving to a lot better than
Will you use some of that video in your production?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, usually we do like we do like a public land chronicle series.
Yeah.
Like it's more just for us to keep track of what we're doing.
How long have you been filming what you do? You've been doing that a while, haven't you?
I mean, I've had a camera since I was 13.
Okay.
I had a Sony Handycam, that was what I wanted for Christmas. Professionally, probably 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
I mean, I've been doing it for probably, I guess I started picking up DSLR stuff in probably 2011, 2010.
Uh-huh.
And then we had a outdoor production company, and I have a wedding films business and such. So
Are you a Final Cut Pro or what?
I do Final Cut Pro.
Okay.
I know a lot of guys like Adobe, but for workflow, I can't try to train myself again. It does everything that I need anyway. So, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the video game changer.
Yeah.
Jordan, what what anything you added to the kit that was better than?
I'm with KC. Like this year, I finally broke down and bought me a nice pair. I got Vortex as well.
Yeah.
Binos and
they're hard to beat.
And rangefinder.
That's the most important thing that you bought this year was a rangefinder. I'll answer for you.
I found a thing of how to
Jordan decided he could
Yeah.
bow hunt without a rangefinder
Exactly.
by using his thumb.
The thumb. Yeah, it's under 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Wrap your brain around that.
Rangefinder.
works. It
Andy
works
is the
fine.
best rangefinder on earth.
I needed a rangefinder. I had one and still misranged some animals. I don't know why an elk looks different than they look out of place anyways. They look like aliens.
Oh, yeah.
You see one and you're like, I can't tell how far that thing is because I've never seen anything like that in my life. But that was, so rangefinder is a very important thing.
And once you have one, you use it all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Cam, anything groundbreaking, earth-shattering?
Not really groundbreaking, but makes a difference to me. I don't know. It's something little. Just a good bow hanger, okay?
Yeah.
So I got a lot of buddies that just do the screw-in hook on the tree, right? Well, if it's 15 degrees in the morning and you're all bundled up,
Right.
how in the world are you going to be quiet and reach back, get your bow down, clip on, and draw?
In time.
Like,
yeah.
I've blown out so many deer that way, and just being able to reach up, it's off, you're already clipped on. The only noise you make is drawing.
Right.
I mean, it makes a huge
So
difference.
what brand or what model? I mean, what are you using there?
Oh. Just one that sticks out. It's got two sections about like
Okay.
that.
I think
You
we use
know?
those Realtree Easy bow hangers. They're just
Bends in
like
the
the
middle.
3 sections.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you what brand.
Yeah, it's just a 3-section easy hanger.
Walmart. Yeah.
Tyler, you mentioned
Academy.
Muddy. They make great stuff.
Yeah.
And I never heard of anything that Muddy makes that isn't great.
Just something to get it out in front of you,
Yeah.
and it puts it just right there.
Gotcha.
We also use, so a lot of times on public land, you can't do screw-ins at all.
Right.
We've got a Hawk one that's Velcro,
Yeah.
which is a little bit loud sometimes, but heck, being able to like Velcro something on a tree, or I know they got a rubber wire one too. You can just hang that right there. And you're not violating any laws or anything. It's a big deal. For us.
Sure.
I'll jump in there and say Onyx Maps. I spent
I 100%
hours,
agree with you.
hours on Onyx Maps this year. And it was my first year. Had it on my phone. I left my GPS at home intentionally on
Right.
a Colorado trip.
Saving
and,
those maps to your phone and go airplane.
And Onyx
mode.
Maps.
They just released their
works.
turkey layers yesterday.
Oh yeah.
The turkey
Flawlessly.
season. Everybody's got it for turkey season.
Yep.
I'm sure there's ways to use it that I'm not savvy on, but I use it all the time. I love it. Especially in Colorado. I mean, the problem I kind of felt like I used my phone as a crutch. I would listen to podcasts at night, instead of just like really immersing myself. Because for 6 days I hunted by myself, and I kind of wished I wouldn't have had that phone just to kind of really detox, from it. But that's the only thing. But I'm with you. Those Onyx Maps are great.
Yep.
And they're big supporters of public lands. Obviously, that's most of their business comes from folks that are pounding it out. So, Grinch, anything that sous vide machine, that's pretty.
I've had that.
Oh, wow.
It's a game changer.
This guy,
But-
whoa, sorry.
Mark
Sorry,
down.
it's Scope
Sorry,
J.
everyone. Sorry. A nice day pack with like a
Fanny?
bow and day pack.
Oh, day pack.
Like with a rifle and bow sling, so you can hike with it easier. And nice
Slick.
pockets, and like it has pistol holsters.
What?
It's a Badlands.
Badlands.
And their warranty, it's a lot like Vortex's warranty. It says on the tag, if you bought this at a thrift store, found it at a dumpster, anything, it's broken, you send it to us, you get a new one.
Wow.
And Jordan, I bought it prior to that elk hunt we went on, and just being able to strap my rifle in and have it secure. And
Big old brick.
yeah, that's a different story. But it's just that's really nice, just to have a nice day pack.
Yeah.
That
You
just
use
has
it
options.
in the kayak as well, or you
For duck hunting?
Yeah.
No, there's
No.
so much other debris.
Yeah.
I've got a waterproof
I got you.
blind bag and a bit there, but even for hiking around and carrying your bow, or just or we're all going pig hunting next weekend. Just be able to wander around with your firearm or bow strapped in tight, so you can walk easily. So it's just nice.
Yeah. Well, we're moving right along here.
We are.
So, let's talk a little bit about kind of what's coming up for the spring. So here in the state of Texas, we got, I don't know. The older I get, the more I'm kind of a 4-season outdoors guy. I mean, it just seems like there's always something to do. And the whitetail life, I don't know that it used to be like this for folks. But I mean, if you're shed hunting and you're getting ready for the summer, and then you're, before you know it, you're scouting and hanging cameras again and getting out, hanging stands, trimming lanes. There's always something to do. Not only that, you got to stay in shape to hunt these, especially these public land places. It's not a sport for guys that ain't with it, So you gotta kind of be working on it all the time. What are you guys getting ready for 2018? I'll start with the Element guys. What's kind of on your bucket list for 18, and what are y'all doing to get ready for that now?
Well, my year won't be as intense as last year, I don't think. I got to go to British Columbia last year and film a stone sheep hunt, and did the Colorado thing. I was film guy the whole time there too. I did a lot of filming, so I'm going to stick more to whitetail, and I assume that I'll draw an Iowa tag next year. So that's kind of that's where I'm putting a lot of my chips.
Oh yeah.
For next year.
Is that every 2 or 3 years?
This is going to be my 4th year putting
really?
in. Yeah, it's I guess one of the top units. So
okay.
Pretty high demand, but yeah, that's
How about
that's
Kansas?
what I'm looking forward to.
Will you put in there again?
I imagine my dad and I have hunted there for probably over a dozen years now.
Yeah.
And so I always end up, he has a lease there, and so I have hunted there forever, and we spent 2 hunts there before I ended up on public and shot that deer this year. So
you ever turkey hunted up there?
Not really.
Yeah.
I guess we did 1 year up there, and I was camera guy again, so I didn't actually hunt, but I had a couple of guys I was filming up there, and it was pretty tough, really, because there's not a whole lot of ag where we're at right there.
Okay.
So you can't really can't predict where they're going to be in certain times and stuff. So, I mean, we stayed by the creeks and stuff. It rained a bunch on us, but there's a bunch of turkeys by the creeks, Yeah. I mean, they're definitely up there. Yeah.
Okay, so you going back to Colorado?
Most likely. So this year for me is going to be my first year to play the tag game, play the draw game. I need to start accruing points fast. I've kind of been introduced to that because I've always just been OTC Colorado rock and roll,
right.
And I'm going to do the New Mexico thing, and if I draw there, then I might end up going somewhere a little closer to home, but if not, Colorado's probably on the schedule for sure. And then for me this year is going to be, hunting whitetail out of state. I've never done that. I've always just stayed close to home, kind of homebody, and I kind of just want to expand my horizons a little bit.
You'll put in for Kansas? Or?
Yeah, I'll put in for Kansas and see how that goes and see if I can get drawn up there. And I tell you what, the antlers are alluring, but those deer weigh like 300 pounds in the hoof. So you're actually bringing home something. You're bringing home meat. You shoot a coyote-sized doe here in East Texas, and it's kind of rough sometimes, but
not a lot to go around.
Yeah.
Jeff Bynum?
Oh yeah.
You're he's moving north, folks.
Yeah, I'm headed to the
taking
the
his
land
carpet
of the free.
bag.
I love being a Texan, but Idaho is calling, and so we're headed north and west this year in June, and so I'll be a non-resident there. So I'll probably deer hunt there, mule deer hunt. I got some spots picked out, but I've also got points built in Wyoming, so I should be able to draw a pretty quality tag in Wyoming, and I'll focus my efforts there. I'll elk hunt somewhere. I always do. I'm not sure where, but yeah, Wyoming, Idaho this year is on the list.
Any spring plans?
Definitely doing some turkey hunting. I think may go try to hunt some exotics here, but that's top secret. So not talking about that, I don't think. So, but exactly.
Yeah,
it's our secret.
It's amazing how you guys have learned that after a year of podcasting.
We've noticed we've talked a lot about spots, but have given no specifics.
It
becomes
I'm
an
proud
art.
Of you. There's nothing wrong with being a public land advocate, but just not for my spots.
Exactly.
I want you to join me, just not with me.
Yeah.
1.7 million acres. Just don't get on mine.
The idea of hunters is great.
I'll go with you to your spot anytime.
That's right. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, though. I mean, that's putting in the work is worth something, you know. And everybody should have to get it by a little shoe leather, in my opinion. So.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's most exciting is 5 wolf tags a year in Idaho. That's and that's all year long. That's gonna be nonstop.
So do you braise those, or what do you?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Sous vide 'em.
try.
Sous vide, yeah. Watch out for that trichinosis. Jordan, spring plans? You do a lot of fishing? Now,
Lot of
you're
fishing.
You're from the Corpus area, correct?
Yeah, I'm from down south.
Do you fish in the bay quite a bit? Or?
I used to a long time ago. But
Okay.
He lives here now.
Now I live here, so
Oh, yeah.
Texoma, a lot of bass fishing.
All right.
I drew a tag for Hagerman for turkey this year.
Okay.
So in
Nice.
April, I'll be out there trying to, did y'all guys, anybody else?
No, none of us sent our stuff in, Jordan. We get that. We've already crossed that bridge. You're the only responsible person in the group. Continue.
It'd be
No,
good.
my wife did it.
Have you been up there? Do you kind of have a game plan figured out for that?
I've been already looking. I've been trying to scout through maps. Probably gonna go hit some boots on the ground around March.
Yeah. I saw some turkey strutting where I live last weekend, so it's kind of wild to see them. Cold morning. Old Tom sticking out there, big beard hanging down. I thought, man, he's had it pretty early, laying his groundwork in.
They're starting to learn.
Yeah.
I'll get out here before all these other dudes
That's
are
right.
doing this.
That's right. So you'll hit it hard in March. Get up there and figure it out.
Yeah, try to figure it out in March. I'm doing the Google Earth, all that stuff right now, trying to figure it out. But get out there in April, try to get something on the ground for once.
Yeah. Is that a bow only, or do you get to haul a shotgun in there? Okay, good. Good. Don't take that bow to a.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson. Come on.
Yeah. Cam?
Man, I'm ready for the crappie to get out of 40 feet of water.
Yeah.
Amen.
You get them when they come up shallow.
Amen.
Crappie taco.
Yeah, as soon as they start coming up, I mean,
Smash
we're gonna wear them out.
You get them up in
4
the
inches of grease.
shallow little brush.
Yeah, I got a couple rock piles on a unnamed lake.
All right, good.
That and
Nothing better than
pigs.
crappie.
Nah,
Pigs?
yeah.
You still get after pigs?
Crappie and pig. Yeah.
On your
Next
farm,
weekend.
or will you?
yeah, next weekend.
Okay. On your farm, or do you hunt public for
Both.
pigs? Do a little both.
Both, yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. So
Grinch?
Pretty much everything everybody else said. We're going to wear some crappie out. We're going pig hunting next weekend.
All right.
In the fall, I'm going to try to bow hunt Hawaii for access deer.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll be there for
So
a wedding
cool.
and some stuff. So I'm going to try to get 4 days. And I feel like
They say they're thick. I mean,
I know,
from
right?
What they say,
And to
it's
me, like,
unlimited, right?
I hate being cold, and I've learned to deal with it and layer and own nice, warm things. But there, it's like I'll hunt all day. It's gorgeous,
Yeah.
it's paradise.
Yeah.
Like just I'll run around with my bow and my sharp stick all day and see what I can do.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's
What-
kind of on my.
I mean, was that spurred? You just saw some people that had hunted some of those islands. And
I've heard a
just
lot about
decided-
it and
Yeah.
listened to podcasts about it, and I'll be there for a wedding. And I'm kind of trying to schedule it so I can get 4 or 5 days of just trying to go to Lanai.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll see that.
Yeah,
and
that'll
I want to hit elk in New Mexico again, but I can't do both. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of going to draw, and if I draw New Mexico, I'll elk hunt. If I don't draw, I'll
You're
do
gonna try
Hawaii.
to get some
yeah.
axis. I don't know. I've never had it, but they say axis is
It's
unbelievable.
phenomenal. I've never killed one, but I've eaten it.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Cool. Well, so let me ask you a question. What's your since you're the cooking guy, Mr. Grinch, what is kind of the what's your favorite preparation, wild game preparation that you've had this year?
Sous vide and stuff is the way to go for a lot of.
So explain to
break-
people what sous vide is. I
It's
mean, if you
basically a
can.
temperature-controlled water bath.
Okay, so you water
can-
bath.
You gotta have a heater. You can buy these units. Like mine's an Innova.
Okay.
So you have a pot or anything. It clips on the edge. It circulates water. You set your temperature. So you can set it like I did a venison roast last weekend at 135 degrees for a handful of hours.
Okay.
And so it can't overcook. So basically, it just you vacuum seal it. So you vacuum
Right,
seal it in
right,
a
it's in a
bag,
bag.
salt and pepper. You can put other stuff in there if you want, but salt and pepper.
Yeah.
And vacuum seal it and immerse it in this water bath and let it sit. And after a point in time, the texture can get weird. But I mean, I've done 8 and 10 hour cooks on these cuts of meat, so that gives all that connective tissue time to really break down. So the thing's forkable. Those Neo Guy back straps I did were 8 hours.
So you did those 8 hours, and then you take them out and
Take them
sear
out.
them?
You dry them off. I sear them in cast iron or canola oil, screaming hot.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
smoke
hot.
up the whole place.
Right.
Just, and then fork it.
Really?
You cut it with a fork. I didn't use a knife.
I'm interested in that.
I've done duck. I've done everything.
See, cooking shanks kind of changed my life.
Like
cooking
ossobuco?
Yeah, well, I don't
Or
do
just braising
ossobuco.
them?
I don't have time to cut all that up like that. But yeah, I just braise them. I've started braising a lot more stuff. You can just turn stuff that you used to try to grind into something really nice. I mean, a shank or a neck roast or something like that. KC, y'all get
I actually
funky
have
with
kind of the same revelation this year as you did. After killing that elk, I was like, man, these shanks are too good to just grind up.
Right,
I got to find something to do with them. And man, sticking those things in a crock pot for 8 hours with some onions and some, cumin and chili powder, you got yourself some pulled out tacos that are just unreal.
Yeah.
And they're really, really good. I just loved that this year. It was kind of the thing I did. Like, I try to take a very practical approach to my wild game cooking. Like, I do fancy stuff every once in a while, but like, I do Monday to Friday, or 7 days a week most times, cooking meat that I killed. So I don't have an hour and a half every day to kind of put into production, So I do a lot of stuff in my crock pot, man. Stews, soups, chilies, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I do a lot of that. And then we had hearts the other night, and I love hearts normally, but I've never not eaten fresh heart. I've always eaten it right, that night on the grill. And I learned that actually when you freeze heart, it does not turn out as well the next time around.
soft,
Yeah,
spongy kind of?
it had a lot more of that kind of liver kind of feel to it, And whenever I've done them fresh, man, heart tacos are hard to beat, So I don't know. It's something I kind of learned this year and probably just continue because I had that huge elk heart, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong, but I really think that fresh is the best way to go there.
Do you grind a lot of that elk? I mean,
I grind a lot of it. Okay, so in full disclosure, my wife is not a big fan of like steaks and chunks of meat, cuts of meat.
Yeah.
She likes ground
She
stuff.
uses a lot of ground
and,
stuff.
when you got 200 pounds of meat, it's a whole lot easier to make a 15-minute meal out of ground than it is something that's in a steak or something like that. So, in practicality purposes, grinding it was well. Of course, I still had, probably 60 pounds of cuts, that I enjoyed very well. And actually, I still have, I think, one little package of backstrap I'm hanging on to from 2016 that's getting, I guess, freezer aged, you could say.
Yeah.
But, it's just so hard to eat that last little piece.
Yeah. I've gotten, though, where the shanks are, I mean, I would give up a piece of backstrap for shanks, now that I know how to cook them. But, I mean, I think the world just changed, I mean, my dad, he wouldn't eat wild game, but
Mine won't either.
My folks, my mom was a great cook, but she had like 10 recipes,
Yeah.
And that was it. That's all, now we hear about things. I guess people were reading French cookbooks back then too, but not my folks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think expanding your horizons a little bit,
Absolutely.
in the woods, and then now when y'all go to Colorado, do you set a big do y'all bring food in or are you eating freeze dried stuff?
We truck camp most of the time,
Okay.
and kind of hit those logging roads, and I usually make big stews, big chilies, and do all that, and try to do those ones that you can thaw. And because the cool thing about like freezing food that you bring up there, it serves two purposes. It gives you ice for the way up, and then when you're there, you can eat it. So you don't have to buy ice. It's not taking up extra room in your cooler, and you thaw it out on the way. And this year, we ate pretty good. Of course, this year my buddy killed that bull, so we had some,
fresh meat too.
Oh my
Makes a
goodness,
difference.
that backstrap that we had on the mountain this year was delicious. I grew up in a family where you fry everything.
Right.
Deer meat's made to be fried, and then the elk just kind of opened my world up on that. It's too good to fry most of the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can imagine. Jeff, you do a lot of cooking.
Oh man, we got ourselves that Instapot for Christmas this year, and
I know you're from Washington. That doesn't mean what I think.
it's
basically a pressure cooker.
It's a pressure cooker. Nothing with it. It's legal in Texas, so no, that's a pressure cooking meat has changed my world. You can take I cooked shanks this year as well, my first time, 55 minutes. And they were perfectly done. I mean, no 8-hour, slow roast, any of that stuff. And so I've taken some tough, old, just almost unedible cuts of meat that have been sitting in the freezer, and it's amazing what you can do when you start pressure cooking stuff. So
yeah, sweet. Anybody else find out anything?
Neck.
Neck. Whole neck.
Yes.
Whole necks.
Yes.
That's where it's at.
He was a
Brazen.
net guy before. We were at a hunt.
I
2
can't.
weeks
It
ago.
disgusts
blew
me
his
to
mind.
think about the amount of necks that I've left. You know.
Can I ask you a question about that neck thing?
Yeah.
So, CWD resides in the spinal column
Yep.
of ungulates. Is that ever? I mean, I know we don't really have too many cases in our area or whatever. Have you ever been weirded out by eating like the actual stuff that's on the vertebrae?
Not really, but
Yeah.
there's two camps within the Stormwater Creek crew. Austin, who is a master knife person, can pull up master butcher. I guess is the best way to say that. Knife person, trying to be politically
myself
correct.
a lot.
You know, you do cut yourself a lot, but he will pull the whole spinal column out, vertebrae, the whole thing, and then take butcher twine.
Retie it.
roll
I'll tie it like a roast and freeze it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've just thrown mine in the crock pot.
Yeah.
You know, and just kind of move it around. And just,
Yeah.
It'll be at the bottom of the crock pot.
Exactly.
That's scary. When I really hadn't thought about it that much. My wife's in here. She's probably gonna look sideways at me next time I throw a big neck in a Dutch oven. But I mean, really, that's something we're gonna have to think about the next 20 years.
Yeah.
It's not going away.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. We just need to figure out what we're gonna do about it.
Well, and the scary part of it, jumping the species barrier, you know. I think recently they had that test, some lab tests with some macaw monkeys, and it jumped to them.
Oh.
It did?
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, it's moved to primates that way, and in Great Britain, it's moved Crutchfield-Jacobs disease. It's moved. You know, that came from beef that had mad cow disease. So I mean, it's something to think about. I don't know that it. I don't know. There's a lot that. I mean, I love talking about things I have no idea about. So but we'll try to refrain. But, I mean, it's something to think about. I mean, the blame. Somebody's to blame for it. We won't get into that. But I mean, it's not probably public land whitetail guys. But
No.
We'll save that for another podcast, maybe.
I'd like to see a better effort towards research. I think. I just don't feel like there's a very concerted effort out there right now.
Right.
I mean, I know the NDA is trying to do a few things, but it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like there's just a, hey, this is what we need to put our money into to fund research.
Right.
You know?
Now, you guys went this past year to QDMA conference.
TRCP.
Oh, so you went to TRCP.
Yep, up in Minneapolis.
So that's Teddy Roosevelt Conservation Partnership.
Yep.
Are you guys going to attend that again this year, you think?
I think it's an every other year thing.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we'll, I mean, if they ask us back, I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
So I love a lot of those people there, man. I mean, we got to know them well over the few days we were there. And
Right.
I don't know if we all vote the same, but we all like public lands and fish and wildlife, so I can get on board with that for the most part.
We're going to get into more of that, you know, probably down the road here. But, I mean, we just had a big – I don't want to take this into the dark territory, so stop me if you guys – I'm basically – I work for y'all today. But so we had a big school shooting a couple days ago in Florida. And so – you know, there's things that are happening in the world of politics that are going to affect hunters and gun owners, public landowners, and it just seems like the currents, you know, that are moving underneath the water are just it's so murky right now. It's hard to know who's really on your team and who's not as far as all this goes, because what's important to you and me may not be important to these politicians. And it's like we can't really craft the perfect guy. You know, you'd have to go to the lab and say, this guy needs to be pro-hunting, access.
Clean water.
He also needs to be pro-clean water.
Yeah.
And he also needs to be pro-gun in a way, you know, and maybe nuanced in some ways but not others. You know, and I've got other things in my life that are very important to me. You know, I mean, I believe in a lot of very conservative things. So I kind of feel like we're almost all at odds in a way with politicians. I don't know if it's best to work within kind of the traditional party that you've been and try to get your guys to move more one way or to move the other guys on some issues. It just seems like it's a catch-22 all the time. Anybody got anything to add to that? Stop me here. I'm rambling.
Yeah, well, we just need the bull moose party to come back.
Exactly. I think the biggest thing we need is just better education all the way around.
Absolutely.
It starts at and kind of towards those conservative views and values is just it starts at home. It starts with the value of life. It starts with the value of it's funny. I guarantee you, every single person at this table and a bunch of people in this room right now grew up around guns their entire life. I knew where my dad's gun was. It didn't have a lock on it. It wasn't behind a safe. And I knew because I was taught what it was, that it was not something to be played with, and I never played with it. It was just not anything that ever happened. And I think that people can start to teach their kids about that. Don't be afraid of these things.
Exactly. Respect, not fear.
Respect.
Right. Respect.
And respect for life, respect for the weapon, and you start to have, you're going to diminish those things. And it just goes to the greater, I think people like Steven Ranella, people like Remy Warren, people like Randy Newberg who are out there, who are advocates for hunting, are portraying us as people who are not backwoods idiots running around with guns just on the loose. We're educated people. We believe in things that of high moral. We're high moral people, and I think that's where we have to continue to spread the message. And I think organizations like Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is where that starts, and getting our politicians locally and nationally on board to understand that that's what we need to do, and that's the way we need to do, and we have to help derive their policy on how they should think about it.
You said something really good there too, like the value in life. There's nothing that teaches the value of a life more than taking one in a hunting scenario. Tyler and I had this discussion in the stand. We killed a doe this year that made a big loop and ended up dying right underneath us. And it's not like you can hide from it. A lot of times stuff runs away, or you take it down like that with a gun. But when you have to sit there and watch something die and know that you did that, it touches you in a different way.
Absolutely.
But you have to realize that that's a responsible harvest. And we're not out there, I'll kill them all, just shoot them and leave them laying. That's not what we're talking about.
Right.
We're talking about a responsible harvest and valuing a life, no matter if it's, a frog that you see on the way in walking,
right.
Or it's a deer that you're going to harvest, or if it's another human that you see while you're in the woods or elsewhere, like all the people here tonight. It's the value of life is something that needs to be taught more to people, I think.
I think that Abe hit the nail on the head with the education statement. I don't think, if we're going to go back to the politician side of things, left or right, I don't think what we need is more legislation, really. That doesn't fix things, because people that are going to disobey the laws aren't going to listen to the new legislation anyway. I think it's a heart problem, with people. Just the souls of men are evil, that's what it boils down to. And unless you're educated, whether it's about hunting or shooting or gun safety, or it's just about being educated about how we should care for each other.
Yeah.
It boils back to education, I think.
Can you say something on that?
Yeah, Cam, go ahead.
You mentioned something that we can't craft the perfect politician, right?
Right.
Well, believe it or not, we still have a voice in this country, right?
Yep.
So I think we've become somewhat apathetic in the way we go about and how we want things done. So if you want something done,
right,
do it, right? So that's real broad, but it can be applicable to stuff like what we're talking about here.
Right.
Get active, get involved. You're not going to get anything done by trusting somebody else to do it for you. Have your voice, make it heard, right? That seems to be kind of diminishing further along we get, but I think we still have it. Use it.
Right.
Yeah, I was listening to Ben O'Brien and Ryan Callahan on the way here, and they were talking about hunting and conservation, and I think they were talking about the same thing you're mentioning, Cam, is that people say, I'm a hunter, I'm an outdoorsman, and I love this, and I support it and all that stuff, but what are you actually doing to protect conservation, protect public lands, and just saying you're a conservationist doesn't make you a conservationist, and oftentimes the people that are writing the laws and rules on these things are people that are detached from
They don't
that
have a
environment.
clue.
They don't have a clue. They're following what they're being told, and so
Right.
if you value this lifestyle, this world, you have to take action. You have to get involved, with BHA or any of these number of different organizations that are out there that have a voice, and
I'll say to add to that, I mean, BHA here in the state of Texas, we've talked a lot about, nationally we have goals. I mean, there's a lot of public land in the West. There's public land in Texas that's worth fighting for. There's increased access that we really want to push for. Mm-hmm. The biggest reason that folks don't start a kid hunting is they have nowhere to take them.
Exactly.
And I guarantee you take a kid that loves the outdoors, they're not shooting up schools. There's not one of these kids that have gone into a school and shot up a school or a movie theater or wherever that's a passionate hunter. That's not the mold that they're cut from. We got to do a better job in this country of bringing up young people, making men out of boys.
Absolutely.
Really, we're doing a terrible job of that. But I mean, that's a totally another deal. On the public land deal, I think being involved nationally, be involved on a high level, but also being involved locally. We need to do more boat ramp cleanups. Cleaning up. Having days where we go and do some service projects. You mentioned you love wood ducks.
Built some wood duck boxes.
That's
Me and
right.
Jordan were talking about this recently.
I just think if everybody built 10 wood duck boxes, and
Problem is, you got to clean them every year.
well, yeah,
people
you got to
don't
do
think about
that,
that.
and you also need to do some predator control. I mean,
Raccoons.
Raccoons.
there's a lot of. I mean, I don't know how you
Trash
do that on public
pandas.
land, but there's a lot of things you can do to impact your world. So make what you're doing a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Raise your kids right.
Well,
Help your neighbor. I mean that's the sort of thing. I think if everybody turned around and just tried to do
That's a
little bit better
bipartisan
every day.
message right there.
Hey,
Help your neighbor.
I'm not
I don't
running
care
for
what you
anything.
are, who you are, what you look like, or what you do. Just, I'm here for you.
Right.
Yep.
So you see where I'm going there.
Well, Jared, you mentioned it earlier, and I was going to commend you on it. You talked about going fishing this morning. You took out more trash than you took out fish. When you get out there, that's your land, that's our land. If you see trash, you have the means of taking it out. Take it out with you.
That's what I
We
told
pick
my
up
boy.
So much trash duck hunting.
Yeah, I told my son, I said, someday you're going to tell your kids, my dad wasn't a very good fisherman, but he loved to gripe about trash. we didn't catch a whole lot, but my dad was always leaving with handfuls of trash.
That's good.
It's disgusting that
It is.
people will
It
do
is,
that.
absolutely.
I mean, I don't know who raised these people that do that.
Just
but-
believe it.
Once again, we get back to the no respect for
Right.
anything but themselves, probably.
Yeah.
I saw a post the other day. It was a girl my brother grew up with. We're all, friends. She grew up in Texas, moved to the mountains, and she's got certain viewpoints I don't necessarily agree with. But she posted something the other day that was to the effect of, this is all beautiful, and I love the environment and, being out in the mountains and the outdoors. But as soon as hunting season starts, like, all you see is trash in the parking lots, access points, stuff like that. And I was like, that is a horrible message
Yeah.
we're sending. Absolutely. Like, that's her view of us.
Right. It only takes one guy. It only takes one guy to throw a McDonald's sack out and let a coon get in it, or
Case of Modelo.
yeah, case of Modelo and his Pall Mall package. But I mean, one guy makes the whole thing look bad.
One bad apple.
It'd be
That's
50
the whole
guys
analogy.
come through there and don't. But I mean, that's the thing. Just pick it up when you can.
Well-
I'm not on any high horse, but
Well, it also only takes one guy to switch that around.
yeah.
Call them out, throw it back in their face. People need to be called out for their BS.
Okay, so I think we're getting
We're
down.
delving deep.
We're getting down the road on this pretty good. we're gonna lighten it up for one last.
We
Really,
call that the rabbit trail on our podcast.
And we do a lot of that.
Squirrel.
I do it a
That one
lot.
wasn't that
But this
bad.
rabbit trail actually had somewhere to go.
That was a good rabbit trail, though.
Ours
Not-
are usually
beers,
not
we'll
good.
see,
This is why
uh,
you're around, to keep the rabbit trails
exactly.
good.
well, I mean, that's all important stuff. I mean, I'm not
Agreed.
trying to preach here, but on the BHA front in particular, if you could change your public land experience for the better, I'm going to ask each one of you this question, and then we might be able to just wrap it up with this. But if you could change your public land experience for the better, I mean, ideally, you wake up tomorrow and you're the king of the world, Grinch. What would you change about Texas public lands?
It's a tough one. Because Texas, I mean, like we've touched on, Texas has, it's a lot of land, but in the percentage-wise is very small based on western states. Man, it's a tough one.
More access?
More access, respect of it, to not to get backed into that, because you do see, especially in all these heavily waterfowl spots, just shell boxes and shell casings and hand warmers and dip containers and water bottles. Like, you brought it all out, just put it back where it was. Like, it packs out smaller than it came in. Like, you're making us all look like jerks here. And that's the kind of stuff. And the lack of use. We need more people using it, because if this stuff's not getting used, especially in Texas, because people don't know about it and don't work for it, it'll get sold off super. That's why Texas doesn't have the amount it used to have.
Right.
It all got sold off. But if we have no voice here and we don't use it and take advantage of this resource now, it will disappear.
Yeah.
100%. So I think I rabbit trailed just then.
No,
but I just, if I had to change one thing about Texas public land, making sure people are aware of it and
take care of it.
Absolutely, respect of it.
Cam?
Not that.
Let me ask you a question. Do you put in for the big draw hunts, the TPWD draw hunts?
I put in for some of them.
Yeah. What do you put in for?
Oh gosh. Well, I didn't put in for much this year. I have in the past.
Yeah.
There's some South Texas.
Okay.
Hagerman.
Not this year, though.
Not this year, though.
Well, he didn't put in for the turkey, but we're all
It's a
putting in for
sensitive
the deer
subject.
hunt in
Yeah.
May.
Yeah.
It's on my calendar.
You don't have to say specific spots, but I mean,
Well,
you put in
there's-
for the pronghorn hunts?
I haven't. I haven't.
I've got buddies that have done that for 30 years, never drawn that hunt.
Still haven't.
I put in for those every year.
You know, I wish you go to Kansas, right? I mean, so I'm going to answer my own question a little bit. But you go to Kansas. Kansas has this state. The state goes out and leases a tremendous amount of CRP land for pheasant hunting. I wish we could see a little bit more of that. I know we do some. I've just now learned a lot about some of these dove hunting spots and some of the other
ton
things.
of dove access.
But I mean, I think they're.
See, my issue there, though, is that how much are we paying an acre for a dove lease that maybe not a whole lot of people are going to use?
Right.
You know, and I don't know what that is, but I think the prices in Texas are just
too expensive.
Yeah, we've just got an incredible economy. I mean, plain and simple, they could lease it to a corporate leasing, party out of Dallas and do pretty well.
Yeah.
Or they could lease it to the state for probably less money. And
I think that ties in kind of with what I said, is using these things.
Yeah.
Like, especially these ones. I think that my understanding is that's why a lot of these, dove-only leases, that's why you have to fill out the little thing and leave it in the box, so they know, because if 3 people use it, they ain't leasing it next year.
Right.
Yeah. So I know a handful of us use those this year.
Yeah.
Going out and taking advantage of these, even if it's a few days a year, so showing them that this is a valuable opportunity for us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's 6 million people that live. Is there 6 or 10 here in the Metroplex? There's a bunch. But there's more than a couple people that live here in the Metroplex. And every time somebody moves in, we need more hunters. I mean, we need people need more of a place to go. I've been out of the deer lease game for a while. It priced me out.
Oh yeah.
And but with my kids coming up, it's hard not to say, gosh, I wish I had a place to take them and just a place to go shoot guns or something. So you can see why that money.
I don't mean to skip over everybody here, but that kind of is I feel like a good segue into the point that I have about like public land experience, is that like I feel like you probably want to have a lease for your kids because they can go out and see deer more regularly than they could on public land. And so I guess one thing that I would like to see improve, and I don't know if it can or not, but is like the amount of game, whether it's squirrels, rabbits, or deer. Like I want to see these lands managed effectively. I know the NWTF's doing a lot of work from habitat management perception, but like I feel like that if you can go out, like a new hunter that's maybe 20 years old, if he goes out, he doesn't really know what he's doing. Say he's been listening to Stormwater Creek and he's inspired. And he goes out on public land and he doesn't see a deer like 3 straight sits. He's probably not going to be a future hunter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like we got to figure out how to get. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's habitat improvement and stuff, but
Just better
we gotta figure out
overall
how to have more.
management.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not trying to like chastise the state or anything here either,
Right.
you know. But like, I'm just saying, I would like to see more opportunity from a game standpoint.
I'll jump in there because as a transplant Texan, been here 3 years. I mean, I grew up hunting public lands my entire life, and I got here and had nowhere to go, and it's darn difficult to figure out the way Texas runs their public lands. There's information out there, but the websites aren't intuitive. There's not a lot of resources, and everything is so focused here on hunting leased properties. It's you almost just throw in the towel, and so it took me a couple years before I could even got out on the first piece of public land. So I think, one thing that we can do as a culture is do everything we can to be more inclusive to the people that just don't have the experience or knowledge to go out there and figure it out. And maybe, that's something maybe we can work on with BHA and try to do more events around. But
Well, I know Abe. I mean, he was talking to me the other day. I mean, that's a big point of their podcast is like inspiration for people and knowledge
hunters.
that like you can go do this,
Yeah.
and that's why we film and that's why you guys film and stuff. I mean,
Exactly.
we're trying to showcase these public lands. You know, I mean, we just released a little squirrel and rabbit film that he was talking about the other day. It's not that exciting for a lot of people, but I'm telling you, like when they were busting out of the brush piles, it was fun, man.
Yeah.
I had a blast,
Well, squirrel and rabbit are delicious.
and they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just to jump in on kind of to tag onto both of y'all's points, I think that's one of the biggest things that BHA can do is really start to work with the state of Texas and help them manage lands. And and I guarantee you, we don't even need to get a response from them. Their response is going to be like, where's the money to do this? And my response to them would be, well, we need to generate and recruit hunters who are going to pay the $48 each year on top of their hunting license to come and hunt these lands, and that's going to allow you to hire a biologist. It's going to allow you to maintain and manage these public land spots better. It's going to allow you to have a better website that would allow people who are like, I understand this is possible, but how do I even do it?
Yeah.
And maybe a consolidation, too, of the fact that we have TPWD wildlife booklets. We have a Corps of Engineers booklets. How do we make that easy for people to understand where they can go? I mean, we find it all the time.
That was one of our big pushes as a chapter at BHA. We're going to try to streamline some of that information for you guys.
Yep.
And I would say you guys with the platform that you're building, you're the guys that need to be in contact with Texas Parks and Wildlife, and have them as guests on your show if you can get them.
We've had a few biologists.
Yeah,
I've made some relationships with some of their training coordinators because they've started doing these 101 hunts. They're new public hunters.
Okay.
And there's actually a couple here tonight I saw who I met in Abilene the last day of duck season.
Okay.
My girlfriend and I did the Waterfowl 101 course. She's just gotten into duck hunting. I obviously love it, but we kind of met them. We told them about this, and they're here today, and that's awesome. And he showed up in a BHA hat to the event. And so we were telling about our podcast and introducing new hunters and kind of what you said. And there's a gentleman named Randy Spradlin, and he's one of the BHA education officers.
TPWD.
Yeah, TPWD. And he said he's 100% willing to tag team with us so we talk about public lands and he can be there for these 101 courses.
See, I've never heard of any of this, so I'm glad.
Right?
This is,
I mean, I didn't know about it until he brought it up.
Yeah,
I'm like, they have one of these for everything,
yeah,
right?
they have waterfowl, whitetail, feral hog, trapping. They have all this stuff, and that waterfowl course we did was the first one they've ever done. It was the inaugural, and I kind of told him what we do and being involved with VHA and all that, and he said, I'm willing to do anything you want to do because that's what we want to do is get new hunters out.
Right.
So
It's all about
rabbit
hunter
trail
recruitment.
again. It's
all
100%
about
about
hunter
recruitment.
recruitment to me.
Because I didn't know about public land in Texas for a long time. It's because it's not a thing. It's all lease. Everybody has their deer lease or their dove lease or goes dove hunting with their company. So it's getting this knowledge out to people that you can go do it on your own. And it is work. It's still hunting. It's not just killing.
Right.
It is absolutely work, but it can be done.
Nothing's for free.
No, absolutely.
You either pay.
And this is a big price of
Exactly.
effort.
Effort. Sweat equity.
I'd rather not be doing anything else, really, though. You know, like
Absolutely.
I walk around on public land all day and not see much and still have a good day. You know,
It's a blast, right? I mean, it's just so. It's so. There's nothing more challenging than trying to hunt public land in this state. I think it's one of the most difficult places to hunt because it's not easy. You guys have talked about it on your podcast. How are you supposed to tell somebody like, okay, well, here's a funnel, here's a feed pattern, here's a bed to bed? Well, how are you supposed to know when you're looking at a forest that's 1,300 acres full of oak trees, full of acorns? How are you supposed to determine where they're going to eat?
Yeah.
It's boots on the ground.
equity.
It's walking there.
It's a lot different when you don't have that one corn feeder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
Drink coffee
one
and
spot.
switch to
Just
beers
give me
and
that
wait.
one corn feeder and a grenade, and I can come out with some
Exactly.
meat.
Fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, and this kind of just stems off of like the hunter recruitment thing. I grew up, we had leases down, South Central Texas and stuff, and got priced out kind of like what you had talked about. And if it wasn't for public land, I probably wouldn't be a hunter right now because my dad got my butt in a canoe, and I've talked about you with this. Talked about to you about this. Sorry. And he got my butt in a canoe, and we went out with shotguns and shot hogs every spring of my life, and it just grew a love of it for me, and it got me familiar with the properties.
Sure.
Another thing,
Yeah.
But I can't imagine, like, if I wanted to start today and figure out how to hunt, where to go. Because we don't have that just great access in the state because it's all, or not all, but a lot of it's leases. And I think it's something that we need to kind of self-reflect on, like how many new hunters, young hunters have we personally taken out and shown the way? We do our best in the podcast to try to inspire people, and I know y'all do too, but at the same time, like,
There has to be a want there.
yeah.
Well, Jeff,
there has to
I
be a
commend
want there.
Jeff. Jeff's he's eating his own cooking on that deal. He's taken a lot of guys out. I mean, he's been more generous than I would have ever been. And I try to be a good example of what not to do in that. But, no, he's done a great job of that. But I think that's true. I mean, it starts at home. You can. The best preacher's the one that lives it.
Yep.
So I commend all you guys for what you do. I mean, I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, you guys are the
Supporting
badasses.
us and supporting each other and getting after it and showing that it can be done and that you have a lot of fun doing it. So
I agree.
Anything closing? Abe, you have
The
any
old
closing comments?
Steve Ranella closer. Any concluders, boys? Anybody got anything?
Well, I'll just go and say thanks to Texas BHA for hosting this event and for making this thing awesome. This is a lot of fun. We got a ton of people here. Good merch around. Go buy you a cool BHA shirt like some of us have got on. I want some of those. Like
I know, right?
Chair people shirts. How do we get those things?
Just volunteer. Just about 75 hours a month.
Yeah, you got about 400 hours last year to
Yeah,
get you one of
exactly.
these. So.
Yeah, but thank y'all for all the hard work y'all do. I mean,
Yep.
it's been great just being a part of Texas BHA and just being around y'all and seeing all the hard work y'all put into it. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, thanks for what you guys do. I mean, you guys are a voice for us. You guys get out there and you attract people and you share the message, and so it's a group effort. So
All right, so let's talk a little bit about follow-up. Where can we find the Element guys? Where
We try to be pretty available digitally, so we have a website, theelementwild.com,
the Element Wild.
and then we stay on the Instagram, Facebook quite a bit. So what is it? At the Element Podcast.
At the Element Podcast for Instagram, and then the Element on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
then maybe on your local public piece, you
Yeah.
could probably find us out
we're
there.
not going to give you any GPS coordinates or anything, but we'll be around. You know? But then, of course,
They
our
come
major
up with really
platform-
cool names like Babylon and stuff like that. We just go that place.
that one place.
And then, of course, like our major platform is the podcast that's on iTunes and Stitcher and Podbean and all that. They own the podcast.
Subscribe, 5-star review.
And leave us reviews, man. I mean, y'all know the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And reviews are where it's at.
Exactly. That's the single best thing you can do. I'd rather you not buy a hat and leave a review.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
But you can also buy a hat.
What about you guys?
We can be reached at stormwatercreek.com and iTunes, the whole digital media thing as well, and Instagram at
Stormwater Creek.
At Stormwater Creek. Facebook, I think, is the same thing too, right? Yep. So check us out. I mean, there's 2 of the podcasts here that are singly focused on public hunting land and hunting in general around in the state of Texas. Do we do it other places? Do we do other things? Absolutely. But you're always going to be able to find some sort of content about public hunting land in Texas on one of these 2 podcasts. And we just want to thank everybody for coming out more than anything, So.
Yep.
And thank Legal Draft for having us and let us have the space and free reign. And
I mean,
we've done a lot of our podcasts up here, but
good beer.
They kind of
good
just
people.
give us carte blanche to do whatever, and we appreciate that.
very much so. Thank you, Legal Draft.
All right, with that, we're signing off. You guys want to do your thing? I always want to see it in person.
Come on.
All right. This is your element.
Living it.